All right, so example 1 tells us to solve 3n squared plus 14n minus 5 is equal to 0. We did this back in our factoring unit when we covered it. So what is the first step? Well, first thing when we're solving equations, remember it has to be set equal to what? 0, because we're going to factor it, right? And that's because we have an n squared and an n in this one. If it was just an n, then we would just solve for n like we did in Algebra 1. But this has the n squared and the n, which means we're going to have to factor, so we need it equal to 0. And thankfully this one is, right? So then what do we do? What's our first step when we actually go to factor? No, not alien. Greatest common factor, right? So just to review back over that, remember we got to check and see it as 3n squared, 14n, and negative 5. Do they all have something in common?
No.
They do not.
I thought it was like multiply to get 14.
We're going there. All right, so then our next step, remember, was to count the number of terms. How many terms does this one have?
4.
3. The equals 0 doesn't count as a term. I mean, it is. You're right, it is, but we're just factoring on the left side. All right, so we have 3 terms in what we're going to factor here. So 3 terms, we have to decide, is it a simple or an alien?
Alien.
It's an alien. You guys? Oh, we're going through the story, don't worry. All right, so it's an alien. So remember, this is your alien woman. She's going to go on vacation, and she kisses her husband goodbye. She's gone.
I can't breathe. It's running down my face.
But because they're aliens. All right, so we're factoring here. We got a little distracted there. So remember, the woman goes on vacation, kissed her husband goodbye. So we're in the middle of rewriting it. So we got n squared plus 14n minus. But what happens when they kiss?
15.
They multiply.
Oh my God.
Now a simple trinomial.
This was the easiest thing to do.
And remember, we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to what?
15 and minus 14.
Good. Remember, multiply to the last number and then read it backwards. That's a minus sign, so they subtract to 14.
15 and 1.
Which is 15 and 1. Now, we always put our bigger number first, so we can bring down that first sign. And then ask yourself, positive 15 times what kind of 1 is going to give us that negative 15? Negative 1. But because this is an alien, remember, when you go on vacation, you have to come back home, right? So, he's mad, so they're going to divide by her. Reduce it if possible. 1/3 doesn't reduce at all. So then remember, if you have a fraction, take the number on bottom and put it in front of the n. And then equals 0. Alright, so remember, once you have it factored, you have things being multiplied, which means you can set those individual factors, each equal to 0, and solve for n. So the first one, let's subtract the 5. And so we get n equals negative 5. And the second one, we're going to add the 1. We get 3n equals 1. Divide by 3. And so n equals 1/3. And so there are my 2 solutions. How did I know I was going to have 2 solutions? Do you remember? The largest exponent was a square, or 2, so it meant 2 solutions.